If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps me share more powerful life stories with you. In today's video, I want to share with you the story of my life, a journey filled with broken families, strict rules, and the kind of love that sometimes felt more like control than care. I'm Dasha, I'm 20 years old now, and looking back at my past feels like opening a book filled with pages of both hope and shadows. This is not an easy story to tell, but it's one that taught me lessons I'll never forget. When I was just 8 years old, my parents separated. At that age, I didn't really understand why adults made choices like that. All I knew was that my world suddenly split in half. My mother became my everyday anchor, while my father turned into a guest star who appeared only on certain weekends or holidays. Mom remarried quickly. My stepfather, Sasha, was a decent man in his own way, but he was strict in a way that sometimes felt suffocating. In our tiny two-room apartment in Kamianets-Podilskyi, space was tight, and so were the rules. No short skirts. No makeup. No loud music. No freedom. My classmates bragged about their private rooms, their independence, their ability to shut the door and just be themselves. For me, privacy was a luxury. I shared a room with my mother while Sasha kept the other for himself. I often felt like an unwanted guest in my own home. Inside me, a quiet storm began to grow. By the time I was 15, I had reached my limit. The walls of that small apartment felt like they were pressing in on me. Arguments between my mom and dad escalated. Custody fights, emotional outbursts, tears. And then came my father's offer. Come live with me in Odessa. You'll have your own room, your own freedom. I can give you more. Mom resisted, of course. She didn't trust him. But eventually, after many fights, she gave in. And so I packed my bags, thinking I was stepping into a brighter chapter of my life. Dad's apartment in Odessa felt like another world. Spacious, modern, full of light. He had his own business, dressed sharply, spoke with confidence. For the first time in my life, I had a room of my own. Dark blue curtains. Posters of my favorite musicians. A laptop on the desk. A balcony that opened to the city. I felt like a princess finally given her castle. My dad's wife, Rena, was soft-spoken and kind. She couldn't have children of her own, so she treated me as though I was hers. She made my favorite meals, helped with homework, and tried to give me the affection I had always craved. But behind her warm smile, I sometimes saw sadness. A kind of loneliness that no one ever spoke about. 2 years later, she became gravely ill. Doctors tried everything, but her body gave up before her spirit did. She passed away quietly, leaving me and Dad alone in that large apartment. I was 17. I became the caretaker. I cooked, cleaned, did the laundry, not because anyone forced me, but because I felt I had to fill the emptiness she left behind. My mother came to visit one day. She noticed how much I had grown, how much I resembled her. She tried to convince me to return home, saying Sasha had softened, that things could be different. But I refused. I couldn't leave my dad alone. And truth be told, I loved Odessa more than Kamianets. Dad supported my decision. He seemed proud to have me by his side. Young, athletic, full of life. He liked being seen as the father who had everything under control. Years passed. I turned 20. Confidence blossomed in me. Strangers noticed, suitors came. But every time someone wanted to get closer, Dad became cold, dismissive, even intimidating. He always found reasons to chase them away. You're too young, he'd say. Live for yourself first. But deep down I wondered, was he protecting me, or was he keeping me? One evening, after yet another failed attempt at a normal date, I asked him directly, Dad, why do you push everyone away? Don't you want me to have my own life? His answer was quiet, heavy. I don't know how I'll live without you. You're all I have. I should have felt comforted. Instead, I felt trapped. From that moment, something in our relationship shifted. Not in any inappropriate way, but in the sense that his watch over me became sharper, more suffocating. He decided which clothes I should wear. He wanted to know where I was every hour. He scrutinized my friends. At first, I mistook it for care. But slowly, I realized it was control. Imagine loving someone so deeply because they are your family, yet feeling as though they're also the cage that holds you back. That was my life at 20. On the outside, I had everything. A beautiful home, security, a father who adored me. On the inside, I had nothing, no freedom, no independence, no voice of my own. Nights were the hardest. I'd stare out at the Odessa skyline from my balcony, wondering what my life would be like if I had the courage to step beyond his shadow. The breaking point came not with a shout, but with silence. One day, a close friend from university invited me to join her on a weekend trip. Nothing dramatic, just friends enjoying the coast. When I told Dad, he exploded. "You're not going anywhere. You're too young. What if something happens to you? What if you get hurt? What if you never come back?" It wasn't fear speaking. It was possession. That night, for the first time, I realized, if I didn't fight for my freedom now, I would never have it. I didn't run away dramatically. I didn't slam doors or shout. Instead, I made a quiet plan. I saved small amounts of money. I applied for part-time jobs. I reconnected with Mom. And one morning, I packed my bags again, just like when I was 15. This time, though, it wasn't about choosing between parents. It was about choosing myself. Dad begged me to stay, but I held my ground. Tears blurred my vision, but my feet didn't stop moving. Living on my own was terrifying at first. Paying rent, balancing work and studies, cooking meals that sometimes tasted like cardboard. But every time I locked the door to my own space, I felt alive. For the first time in my life, I wasn't a guest. I wasn't someone's daughter defined by their control. I was simply Dasha. And that was enough. Even though I had gained more freedom than when I lived with Mom and Sasha, life with Dad was complicated. He wasn't cruel. He didn't scream often. He didn't punish me with harsh words like Sasha did. Instead, his control came in quieter forms. It was the way his eyes followed me when I picked out clothes. The way he questioned me about every friend's name, their family, their intentions. The way his silence filled the room whenever I mentioned wanting to travel, work, or move out. It was love mixed with fear, care mixed with control. And for years, I convinced myself it was normal. But was it? University opened my eyes. For the first time, I was surrounded by students who were free, truly free. Some of them lived in dorms, some rented small apartments, some even traveled abroad for internships. They talked about future careers, adventures, and living life on their own terms. I wanted that too. One friend in particular, Lena, became my mirror. She was bold, outspoken, and unafraid of the world. She often told me, "Dasha, you're smart, beautiful, and capable. Why are you always holding back? What are you afraid of?" I never had an answer. Maybe because the person I was afraid of disappointing wasn't the world. It was my father. Lena was the one who invited me on that weekend trip to the coast. Just 3 days. A small group of friends. Bonfires, music, laughter. When I told Dad, his reaction wasn't what I expected. "You're not going," he snapped. His voice was sharp, his eyes burning with an intensity that made my chest tighten. "Dad, it's just a trip." "No." He slammed his hand on the table. "You don't understand how dangerous it is. I can't let you leave." Let. That word echoed in my mind. Who was he to let me? I was 20, an adult. But in his eyes, I was still the little girl he refused to release. That night, I lay awake replaying his words. The apartment walls, once comforting, now felt like prison bars. Change doesn't always happen in loud moments. Sometimes it begins as a whisper inside your heart. Mine whispered, "It's time to leave." I didn't act immediately. Instead, I began saving money quietly from tutoring jobs. I kept my earnings hidden between pages of an old textbook. I started spending more time with Mom, reconnecting with the life I had left behind. Sasha truly had softened. Maybe with age, maybe with guilt. He treated me kindly, and though I couldn't imagine living there again, it was proof that life could change. Most importantly, I realized that freedom wasn't something anyone would give me. I had to take it myself. The day I told Dad was one of the hardest days of my life. We were sitting in the kitchen. He was drinking coffee, scrolling through his phone. I gathered all my courage and said, "Dad, I need to move out." His eyes lifted slowly. "What did you just say?" "I love you, but I can't live like this anymore. I need my own place." I need my own life. For a moment, silence. Then his voice, low and shaking. So you're abandoning me too? First your mother, then Rena, now you? My throat tightened, but I didn't back down. I'm not abandoning you. I'll always be your daughter. But I can't stay trapped here forever. His face hardened. If you walk out that door, don't expect me to welcome you back. Tears filled my eyes, but I stood. My hands trembled as I reached for my suitcase. The weight of his stare followed me to the door. And then the hardest sound I've ever heard. The click of the lock as it closed behind me. The first night in my tiny rented apartment was terrifying. The room was small, the walls cracked, the mattress lumpy. I cooked noodles on a single hot plate and ate them alone, wondering if I had made the biggest mistake of my life. But when I looked around, I realized something powerful. This was my space. My choice. My freedom. For the first time, I didn't have to explain myself to anyone. Life wasn't suddenly easy. I worked part-time jobs while studying. I counted coins at grocery stores, stretched every paycheck, and sometimes cried myself to sleep from exhaustion. But with each challenge, I grew stronger. I decorated my tiny apartment with fairy lights. I bought secondhand books and filled shelves with them. I painted one wall myself, messy but colorful. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And slowly, I began to discover who I really was, outside of being the daughter, or the guest or the caretaker. Months later, my phone rang. It was Dad. I hesitated before answering. His voice was quiet, almost broken. Dasha, are you okay? Yes, Dad. I'm fine. I'm building my life. There was silence. Then he whispered, I'm proud of you. I just didn't know how to let go. In that moment, I realized something important. Sometimes love makes people hold too tightly. Sometimes, out of fear of losing you, they end up caging you. But cages, no matter how gilded, are still cages. And that brings me here, to this video, to this story I'm sharing with all of you. If you're watching this and you feel trapped, whether by family, by relationships, or even by your own fears, I want you to know, you are not alone. Leaving doesn't mean you stop loving. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you're selfish. It means you're brave enough to step into your own life. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. It wasn't easy to tell, but it was necessary. Backhand index pointing right. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Because sometimes all it takes is one story to remind us, freedom is worth the fight.